Let's be honest for a second. You've probably been told the wrong thing about money your whole life. Not about debt, not about spending, about saving, the thing everyone praised you for. I wish someone told me this earlier, because while I was busy saving, my money was quietly losing value. Every single year. Nobody talks about this part. Today I want to talk about the switch. The simple, terrifying, life-changing switch from saving money to actually growing it. Not tips, not tricks, just the truth nobody sat down and told us. This is what I will be talking about today. My name is Marcus, and I spend way too much time figuring out why doing everything right still felt like falling behind. I budgeted, I cut subscriptions, I packed lunch, I did everything the internet told me to do, and every month I checked my savings and felt proud. The number was growing, every month a little more, and I thought I was finally winning. But underneath that pride, there was always this feeling, quiet, persistent, like something was wrong, but I couldn't name it. It started when I was young. I watched my mother count money at the kitchen table every Sunday night. Same ritual, stack the bills, write the numbers, sigh. She wasn't careless. She wasn't irresponsible. She was careful, painfully careful, and still it was never enough. So I made myself a promise. When I grow up, I will save every dollar I can. I will never be caught without money. I will be safe. That promise felt like strength. For years it felt like wisdom. It was actually a cage. I just didn't know it yet. By 23, I had saved more money than anyone I knew my age, and I wore that number like armor. I remember refreshing the app 3 times just to make sure it was real, and for a moment, I felt it. That feeling I had chased since I was a kid watching my mother. Safety. But then Monday came, and I went back to work, and the number just sat there like a trophy in a locker room that nobody visits. I said no to trips, no to experiences, no to things that mattered, because the number needed to grow, and I called that discipline. But the number just sat there, not moving like I needed it to, while everything around me kept getting more expensive. My savings grew, slowly, quietly, but so did my rent, and my groceries, and everything around me, every single year, quietly winning the race I didn't know I was losing. Here is what nobody talks about. Even with money saved, I still panicked before checking my bank app. Every single time. The number was fine. The fear was not. I watched other people move forward, buy things, build things, and I kept asking myself what they knew that nobody had told me. My savings number went up, but its real value went down every year without me spending a single dollar. This is where people lose years and never understand why. Then one evening after work, a colleague said something so casually, like it was obvious, like everyone already knew, and I was standing there completely off guard. He said, "Your savings account is losing money every year, even when the number goes up." I laughed because I thought he was wrong. I thought I would go home, check my numbers, and prove it. I was so sure of myself. I was almost smiling. I sat down, opened my laptop, started reading, and the more I read, the more something cold started settling right in the middle of my chest. My face changed. I could feel it changing. Everything I thought I understood about money was different now, and I couldn't unsee it. The belief I had built my entire financial life on was cracking open right beneath my feet, and I couldn't put it back together. Nobody teaches this. Every year your saved money buys less, not because you spend it, because inflation never stops. Your savings was shrinking without you touching a single dollar. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there turning it over and over. Every year I waited. Every year I thought I was safe. The gap was growing. This is where people lose years. Right here, in the comfort of a number that feels safe, while real opportunity quietly passes them by. The trap starts here, not with bad decisions, not with laziness, with the one habit everyone called responsible. I finally saw it, and I couldn't unsee it. Morning came. I hadn't slept, but I wasn't the same Marcus who sat down at that laptop the night before. Something had shifted permanently. I stood at the fork. Everything familiar was behind me. Everything I didn't yet understand was ahead, and I had to choose. Finally, for real, I was terrified. I will not pretend otherwise. Nobody teaches you this part. The fear of moving money, some of you do not fully understand yet, is real. But staying stuck was finally more terrifying than moving. And so I took the first step, not because I had all the answers, but because I finally understood enough to know I could not stand still anymore. The same coin that dropped at the beginning of the story, I was finally ready to catch it, not save it, not lock it away. Grow it, that was the switch. And it started with one decision. He didn't realize yet what was coming. The decision was made. The first step was taken. But the real journey, the part that would cost him more than he expected, had not yet begun. That was his first step. And then things got harder before they got better. The morning after that night, everything looked the same. My apartment, my routine, my coffee. But I was different. Something had been removed from me. A belief I had carried since childhood. And the space it left behind felt enormous. If saving was enough, then what was? That question followed me into the morning, into work, into every quiet moment. I couldn't leave it alone, and it wouldn't leave me alone. I went to work. I sat at my desk. I went through the motions, but my mind was somewhere else entirely, turning the same question over and over like a stone in my hand. The next day I found my colleague, and this time I wasn't laughing. I had questions, real ones, and he had something I desperately needed, answers. He said something that stopped me completely. Your salary was never designed to make you rich. It was designed to keep you available. I had never heard that before, and I have never forgotten it since. Another crack, another belief breaking open, and this time I let it, because I was beginning to understand that everything breaking was making room for something true. Then a friend showed me something. Not a professional, not a guru, just someone who had started a few years earlier and never made it complicated. He opened a notebook, drew a line, and everything shifted again. Nobody teaches this part either. Money growing on top of money. Time doing the work instead of effort. I had heard the words before, but seeing the line, that was different. That changed something in my chest. The earlier you start, the less you have to put in. Time does the heavy lifting, and I had been letting time pass without putting it to work. Every year I waited cost me more than a year before. Starting early means time works for you. Starting late means you work for time. I was closer to the right side of that picture than I wanted to admit. And then the real battle started. Not with the market, not with money. Inside me, between everything I had always done and everything I now understood I needed to do. Fear had a voice. What if you lose it all? What if this is a mistake? What if you are not smart enough for this? I heard every word, and for a while, I believed them. I downloaded the app. I had read the articles. I had watched the videos. But I just sat there, thumb hovering over the screen, unable to press start. Fear is not dramatic. It looks exactly like this. Meanwhile, I kept pretending to be okay. Around friends, at work, online, smiling like someone who had it together, while behind my back, I was barely holding on to my own courage. And I was still sending money home every month, because family came first. It always had. But I was beginning to see that taking care of myself was also a way of taking care of them. Eventually, some evenings I just sat there, too tired to research, too worried to stop, wanting freedom so badly I could feel it. But feeling so stuck, I couldn't see the door. Then one night, I did the math myself. Wrote the numbers down with my own hand. And that third number on the page, the one showing what my money could become, I stared at it for a very long time. Inflation was a thief nobody warned me about. Silent, patient, every single year, taking a piece of what I saved without ever touching my account. I finally had a name for the feeling. And naming it changed everything. So I started learning, really learning, not tips, not get-rich schemes. The actual mechanics of how money grows when you put it somewhere that works while you sleep. The first time I really looked at a stock chart, my instinct was to run. It went up and down and up and down. It looked like chaos. But then I followed the line all the way to the right, and I saw something different. The short term was noise. The long term was the truth. And nobody had ever told me to look at the whole line, instead of just the part that scared me. That one shift in perspective was worth years of waiting. There were nights I argued with myself for hours. The part of me that had saved for years didn't want to let go. And the part of me that had seen the numbers couldn't unsee them. Both voices were real. Both were loud. One night, I stood in front of the mirror for a long time, and I asked myself one question. If you keep doing exactly what you're doing, where will you be in 10 years? The answer was a decision. I saw the version of Marcus that started, that made the switch, that stopped waiting for perfect and started with possible. And I wanted to be that version more than I was afraid of the process. I had always thought investing was the risky choice, but I finally understood doing nothing had its own risk, a slower one, a quieter one, but just as real. Staying still was never actually safe. And then one night, I just started, not when I knew everything, not when fear was gone. I started while I was still scared, and I filled in the form, and I clicked submit. And just like that, it was real. The amount was small, almost embarrassingly small, but it wasn't about the amount. It was about the direction. For the first time in my life, my money had somewhere to go that wasn't just waiting. The piggy bank didn't disappear. I still had savings, but now it had competition. And for the first time, I was not depending on it alone to carry my entire financial future. Then came the part nobody warns you about, the waiting. The market moved, sometimes up, sometimes down. And every instinct, I had screamed to check it every hour. I was learning something harder than investing. I was learning patience. Then it dipped. The number went down, and every fear I had ever had about investing came rushing back at full volume. I almost pulled everything out. I almost quit right there. I called my colleague, showed him the dip. He looked at it completely calmly, and then he said something I needed more than any financial advice. He said, "This is normal. Stay the course." Zoom out. Those two words changed how I saw everything. The dip that terrified me was barely visible from the 10-year view. I was not losing. I was just living through the noise. Something was shifting that was bigger than money. I was changing how I thought about myself. I wasn't just a saver anymore. I was becoming someone who made their money work. And that identity change was terrifying and necessary at the same time. I told someone close to me what I was doing, and I saw in their face immediately. Skepticism, worry, the same fear I had carried. And I understood it, because I had worn that same expression not long before. The doubt from outside was almost harder than the doubt inside. Everyone meant well. Everyone was scared for me. But I was beginning to understand something important. Their fear was not my evidence. Fear never went quiet. I want you to know that. It was still there, whispering every day. But I was learning that courage was not the absence of fear. It was moving forward while fear was still talking. The second month, the number was higher. Not dramatically, not life-changing yet, but real. And real was all I needed to keep going. Evidence is the antidote to fear. The sacrifice years had begun. The years where you see the goal clearly enough to pay the price for it. Not easily, not without cost, but consciously. And conscious sacrifice feels completely different from accidental loss. I wrote one rule in my notebook. Pay your future self first. Before the bills, before the sending home, before everything. A portion of every paycheck belonged to the version of me that didn't exist yet, and I was going to protect him. The crack in the wall had opened all the way, and through it, light. Not the light of arrival, the light of direction. He finally knew where he was going. The question now was how much it would cost him to get there, and whether he was willing to pay it. That answer. The sacrifice years were not dramatic. Nobody films those years. Nobody celebrates them. They are quiet and heavy and long, and you carry them alone most of the time. Months passed. Then more months. The habit became routine. The routine became identity. And slowly, without fanfare, Marcus was becoming a different kind of person with money. The number was growing, not the way fear had imagined, not crashing, not disappearing, growing, quietly and steadily the way real things grow. And watching it was unlike anything I had ever felt looking at a savings account. The first time I showed someone it was working, I didn't say a word. I just put the phone on the table and watched their face change. That moment was worth every month of doubt I had carried alone. Your salary was never designed to make you rich. I know that now in a way that lives in my body, not just my head. And knowing it completely changed what I did with every paycheck from that moment forward. This is what I call the switch. The moment saving stops being the strategy and becomes just one tool among many. The moment your money stops waiting and starts working. It is not a dramatic moment, but it is a permanent one. Every payday, the first transfer went to my future self. Before bills, before anything. Not what was left over, what was set aside first. That one change in sequence changed everything about how money moved through my life. The old Marcus measured safety in a savings number. The new Marcus measured progress in a direction. Same person, different framework. And the framework changes everything about how you feel about money every single day. Money stopped being a destination and became a tool, a seed, something you plant with intention rather than store out of fear. And once you see it that way, you cannot see it any other way again. Then one month I looked at the growth, and it was more than I had added myself. The account was growing faster than my contributions. And I understood compound interest not as a concept anymore, but as something I could feel. There were moments I looked back at the years I had waited and felt the specific weight of time you cannot recover. And I let myself feel it. Because pretending those years did not cause something would have been dishonest. But I could not live there. The forward path was too important. Nobody teaches this. Not in school, not at home, not in most workplaces. The difference between saving money and growing money, the cost of waiting, the power of time, the switch that changes everything. Nobody sits you down and explains it. And that is exactly why I'm talking today. The first time I checked my phone in the morning and did not feel the low panic in my chest before looking at my account. I just stood there, breathing. That feeling was not what I expected freedom to feel like. It was quieter, and it was real. Calling home felt different. Not because I had more money yet, but because I was no longer calling from the edge of my own financial fear. I was calling from somewhere slightly more solid, and they could hear it without knowing why. I stopped watching other people move forward with envy, not because I had caught up, but because I finally had a direction of my own. Comparison loses its power the moment you are genuinely moving. The sacrifice years do not last forever. They last until the habits become identity, and the identity starts producing results. And one day you look up and realize the weight you've been carrying has started carrying you forward. The real reason poor people stay trapped even after getting raises. This is where I say it plainly. It is not income. It is sequence. Rich habits are not about having more money. They are about what you do with money first. When the raise came, I did not upgrade my lifestyle. I upgraded my investment. The old Marcus would have felt the raise as permission to spend more. The new Marcus felt it as fuel for the machine he was building. I started thinking of my investment account as a machine. You feed it consistently. The gears turn. Time adds to what you put in. And eventually the machine gives back more than you gave it. You just have to keep feeding it and not smash it when it makes noise. The best time to start was years ago. The second best time is right now. Not when you know more. Not when fear is quiet. Not when the moment feels perfect. Now, while you are imperfect and afraid and still learning. Now! This is what I lost by waiting. Not as a punishment, just as math. Every year delay costs more than the year before. Because compound growth multiplies what you put in and multiplies the time it had to work. The gap on that chart was real. It had my name on it. But this is what I gained by finally moving. A line that is going somewhere. Not the fastest line. Not the perfect line. Meaning, moving. And a moving line that started late still beats a perfect plan that never began. I had to be honest about the old story before I could write the new one. The old story was not shameful. It was just incomplete. And I was done letting an incomplete story be the last word about my financial life. The new story was not written in one night. It was written one decision at a time, one transfer at a time, 1 month of staying the course at a time, until the new story had more pages than the old one. The emotional payoff was not what I expected. I thought it would feel like winning. It felt like breathing, like the low-level hum of financial fear that had lived in my chest for years had finally gone quiet, and the quiet was everything. The switch is not the end. It is the beginning. Saving is not the enemy. It is still part of the picture, but it is no longer the whole strategy. The switch is the moment you stop letting fear make your financial decisions and start letting intention make them instead. If I could go back to that child watching his mother count money at the table, I would kneel down and say, saving will keep you safe tonight. But investing is how you change the story. Start earlier than feels ready. The fear never goes away. Move anyway. These are the truths that carried this story. Nobody teaches this. The trap starts here. This is where people lose years. Your salary was never designed to make you rich. Say them out loud. Then ask yourself which one you needed to hear most. If you have ever panicked before checking your bank app, if you have ever watched friends succeed and felt something you were ashamed of, if you have ever been tired after work and still felt behind, if you have ever sent money home and wondered when your turn comes, this story was for you. Here is what I want you to do after this video. Not tomorrow, not when fear is quieter. Now, open an investment account. Anyone. It does not have to be perfect. It has to exist. The first transfer can be small. It has to happen. The amount does not matter as much as the direction. A small amount moving in the right direction beats a large amount sitting still. The seed does not need to be big. It needs to be planted. Broke at 21. Still figuring it out at 26. Building at 30. This is not a failure story with a happy ending. This is an ongoing story with a new direction. And direction is everything. Freedom at 40. That is where Marcus is walking. Not running. Not rushing. Walking with intention towards something real. And the thing about walking with intention is that every step counts. Even ones nobody sees. The chains did not break dramatically. They loosen over time. Each investment transfer loosened one link. Each month of staying the course loosened another. Until one day he raised his wrists and they simply fell away. Your salary was never designed to make you rich, but your decisions were always capable of it. That is the truth nobody sat down and told us. Until now, nobody teaches this, so we teach each other. The trap starts here, and so does the way out. This is where people lose years, and this is where some people decide to stop losing them. Which one are you? The version of Marcus he had seen in the mirror months ago, the one he wanted to become. He looked in the mirror one morning and realized he was looking at him, not because everything was perfect, because the direction was real. The same coin that fell at the beginning of the story. He is ready for it now, not to save it, not to lock it away out of fear, to plant it, to let it work, to let time do what time does when you finally stop being afraid of it. This is not the end of Marcus's story. It is the end of the chapter where he was trapped by what he thought he knew. The next chapter is being written one decision at a time, one transfer at a time, 1 year at a time. And the most important thing about the next chapter is that you are in it too. Start now, while you are still afraid, while the amount is still small, while the story is still being written. Start